Welcome to Leadership Sovereignty, the podcast. I'm your host, Terry Baylor, along with Ralph Owens. Today, we'll discuss the important topic of difficult leaders, developing a skill set and a set of tools to deal with those leaders. What are the motivators for leadership and how understanding the past can help you avoid those mistakes in the future? Enjoy the show.
And we are live. Hello, everyone again.
Hello. So, Ralph and I were kind of talking right before right before we're going to start recording. And in all transparency, I told him, I said, man, this is really a topic that I don't know if I really want to talk about. Mainly because it can be maybe seen as maybe kind of negative, maybe, I don't know. But, our goal is to really inspire and keep the sunlight in front of you. Basically, keep in front of you that there's light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Right.
And sometimes bringing up topics that can, seemingly be, of struggle or something like that. But anyway, let's just say what it is. So what we're going to talk about is, some people call them bad bosses. You guys know in the last few episodes, I'm like, I don't like calling people boss. So we're going to say bad leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I was sharing is that maybe there are more folks experiencing that than we really know, because just last week, someone, reached out to me on this very topic and how do I deal with this? Right. And they start running down the list of scenarios. Right. This is how funny this is, right? Yesterday, I go to one of the local sports stores here and I'm trying to find my son a visor. And this just kind of came back to memory. There's a young lady in this area of the department store talking about why are they targeting me? But when this other person comes around, it's just like, man, the heavens open and everything is right with the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't trying to listen, but essentially what they were talking about was a leadership issue.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And let's just say hypothetically, this person whom I was overhearing maybe needed to do some things different, maybe needed to get better. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I never once heard her say in the 5 or 10 minutes I was, looking for the item I was looking for, someone took the time to share with me, these are some areas of improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So these are, so what we're talking about is you may be in a situation where you have a bad leader and, things just aren't going well. And so what we're trying to do here, our goal today is to really identify a few things for you, for us. There are different type of bad leaders. Not every bad leader is bad in the same way.
Right. Yeah.
So Ralph, what do you just kicking this topic off? What do you, what's your thought? What do you think?
It's interesting. So as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, this is almost kind of like teaching your kids about the opposite sex. Why do I say that? Because you want to give them tools to be able to handle the situation. And a lot of times when we're having this conversation, by the time our kids get to that age, we have a bit of trauma of our own. Excuse me. We have a bit of trauma of our own. We may have been hurt, things of that nature. And no one wants to say that relationships are bad, but you do want to enable, your loved ones to have tools so they know how to handle, these difficult situations, right? So dealing with a difficult boss is very similar to that, or a difficult leader is very similar to that. You're going to have them. If you haven't had them already, trust me, it's coming. Nobody is immune to this. And I think the reason why is because, and Terry, we learned this ourselves, is that typically the progression to becoming a leader in an organization, especially smaller organizations, now this doesn't count for all of them, is you are a great individual contributor, right? And because you were a great individual contributor, you were promoted to be a leader. But the skill set that it takes to be a successful leader is completely different than the skill set takes to be a great individual contributor. And nobody teaches that leader how to be a great leader. So what do? We either mimic what we see, good or bad. And then some of us, like Terry and I, we actually go after information to help us become better, which is what, the whole purpose of this podcast is to help people become better. So I'm excited to talk about it. I've had my fair share of difficult leaders and great leaders. It definitely is a skill set that you want to develop, because if you have not already had the opportunity to serve under a difficult leader, you definitely will. And without a tool set, you'd be kind of left scrambling to try to figure it out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to digging into this topic.
No, I think your analogy is spot on, right? Because, since we're talking about that, right? We tend to have one of the analogies that I would use with my kids is, look, if you don't have the right tools when that lion is roaring, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough to stop. Hey,
Yep.
So yeah. Basically what I hear you saying, Ralph, is be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't, and to your point, Terry, don't look at this as leadership, attacking. We're not attacking leaders, right? We're just trying to equip you with some tools that we've learned along the way that helped us to deal with difficult leaders. So hopefully it'll be a blessing to you as well.
Okay, that's great. I love that. So first off, what we want to do is introduce the fact that there are different, as we talked about, there are different type of leaders, right? And that may make it somewhat of a challenge, or give you an opportunity to leverage different skill sets. So just to kind of name off a few, right? We have the micromanager, right? That's that individual that every single thing that has to occur, they have to be involved in it. You have to get their okay. They want to see every nuance, every you don't have a lot of opportunity to exercise your own thought, your own ability, and they just typically probably take all the credit as well. So what comes to mind for you, Ralph, when you hear micromanage?
A lack of trust. They micromanage because they don't trust that you can do it as well as they can.
Wow, that's lack of trust. Wow.
That's the root of micromanagement. Is, okay, you're not going to do it the way that I think it should be done. So I'm going to tell you every single thing that you have to do to get this done. And the more you gain trust, the less they back off you.
I love that. So what are some ways? I mean, I know we have a little outline here, but I love the fact maybe as we identify these different areas, just maybe treetop some ways to gain trust in a scenario where someone doesn't really just exemplify high levels of trust.
I think being consistent in performance, that's probably the first thing. When you're given tasks, making sure that you are properly documenting them and then coming back and following up and saying, hey, this is what you asked for. This is what I delivered. And constantly reinforcing the fact that you are dependable and trustworthy, right? So that they will eventually start to trust you. Because some people, again, just going back to my previous point, right? Most people who moved into a leadership role because they were a great individual contributor. Now, being a individual contributor means that you fully only depend on yourself, right? To perform and to get an outcome. And then all of a sudden you're in this leadership position where you are now your performance and success is dependent upon what other people do. And if you don't feel like those other people are going to live up to your standard, then you're going to either micromanage or you're going to do it yourself, right? So I think in all of, so we here we go to the Bible, right? Solomon said, in all you're getting, get understanding, right? Understanding and wisdom is the key. So when you start to understand what is motivating this action, this particular behavior, you can understand where you can attack it and try to overcome it. I mean, what do you think about that too?
Man, I think that's fantastic. And here's the thing too. The one thing I want to add to that is their lack of trust, really doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you.
Right.
Right. A lot of times it's because of an experience, right? I think Ralph gave a great analogy on the front end about, dealing with relationships and the opposite sex, right? So we're trying to educate or mature or give information about a topic that it could be a sore spot for us in our lives that we haven't been so successful in. So now, how do we lead others?
Right.
Right. So in the same way, you could have a manager, I mean, quite honestly, they could have been micromanaged. And so sometimes they may not even understand that, I'm just going to tell this story, right? I had someone tell me a story about a manager and how that manager treated them. Now, this person was my manager. And as time went on, I'm like,
doing the same thing.
Do you realize what's going on here?
Right.
It was fascinating. It was fascinating. I don't know if we've delved enough in, just individually, personally, everyone, right? Understanding really understanding the result of interactions and those that you've gone through, and how conscious we have to be about how we proceed. Right? If you're not really conscious about it, you will allow that same tune to play out on somebody else.
That's right.
Thank you for being with us today on Leadership Sovereignty. Stay connected with us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and on Instagram by searching for Leadership Sovereignty. And just like this podcast, let's all collectively grow as we go. God bless.